So, got ourselves here an 05 Chevy Tahoe, like I always do. Water pump is leaking. This has 225,000 miles on it. Last time I changed this water pump was about 125,000 miles, so we got 100,000 miles out of a water pump, which ain't too bad. So this has the electric fans, so I don't have to worry about getting a fan clutch off. If you had to get a fan clutch off, you can use like an impact hammer or the wrenches that you're supposed to use to get that off. But lucky for me, I don't have to worry about that. So I got a jug underneath. I used to try to catch all the coolant and all that stuff, but I basically just kind of use a water pump as an excuse to flush my cooling system. So pretty much I just drain it, refill it when I do the change the water pump, and away we go. So anyway, so I used to try to catch all the coolant and pour it into a jug and stuff, but you always spill it. So I just put a big pan underneath, and I'm just gonna pull the hoses off and let it dump into the pan, and it is what it is. I'm gonna put new stuff in anyway, so that's what I'm gonna do. So first thing we're gonna do is pull this intake off, and then the belt and the hoses and the water pump. So you're gonna have a hose clamp here on your mass airflow sensor. And that's kind of where I pull it off, and you just kind of pull it out. You'll have some little pins and stuff over here. You generally have pins over here where this clip connects into the intake here, but it's probably long since gone, so I ain't gonna worry about that. So basically, yeah, hose clamp there, hose clamp there, and this should pull off. So next thing we're gonna do is take the belt off. Probably leave your air conditioner belt on. That's kind of the inside one. You can change out if you want that. Actually, I need to change that air conditioner belt while I got this off. I did change that when I replaced the water pump last time, but it looks like it might need to be changed again. Oop. Dang it. Huh. Anyway, so pull this belt off, put it out of the way. If you're not going to change it, make sure you keep track of the orientation that it was on there, because it can squeak and stuff if you don't. So this is why we're changing it. Got a little play in there. Anyway, so we're gonna pull this tensioner off. It's that bolt, that bolt. Might be a third one. Yeah, there's a third one up underneath right there. So 1, 2, 3 bolts in it, and that should come off. I do believe that is a 15 millimeter. I'll fit this in there. 15. So I got this 3/8 milliwatt fuel electric ratchet. It's the first time I've been able to use it, because generally I don't get into situations where I can't get an impact gun in or actually need it. So this will work this time. Set. So I'm just going to pull this lower hose off and these hoses off here, and I don't know if you can see the plastic tub right there underneath, and just catch what I can catch. I intend to catch all of it because I don't want to hurt the environment. And then I'll pull this top one off, and then we'll have the water pump unhooked from everything. Then we'll have to take the 2 bolts out of the thermostat out, and then there's 3 bolts over here. And then there's 3 bolts under here. I don't know if you can see, but I got one there, one like up in this upper corner here, another one up here. I believe it's around there somewhere. There's 3 there too. There's 3 there, 3 there, and then that comes out. So that's just what I did there. I just kind of pulled it off and moved it to the side a little bit. It's trickling right down into our bucket. I'll clean this off and hose it out later. But you're pretty much going to spill some no matter what you do. As long as you plan for it, shouldn't be a problem. So I got that just kind of running down into the pan there. So we're going to take these two bolts off the thermostat. You can either replace it. I'm going to replace it just because it's got 100,000 miles on it, or you can reuse it if yours is still good if you choose. I'm going to replace it. I'm also going to replace the air conditioner belt just because it's pretty cracked, and I don't want it to break later. Plus I'm right there, so it's easy to do. Once you're done, the coolant will squeak if you leave it on the belts generally. So if you use like hot water and an air blow nozzle, or let's say hot water to kind of wash it off, then it will reduce the likelihood of it squeaking. But I don't believe that these have a drain on them. I think some of them do. I think my GMC does, but I don't know if all of them do. There might be one down there, but I usually don't like to mess with them because I've used a drain before on my Dodge there, and it started leaking afterwards. It just was dripping, and I had to pull the plug out and put a new plug in real quick. So I don't really like to mess with them if I don't have to. So anyway, take these 2 bolts out here out of the thermostat. Then we're going to take the 3 bolts off here, the 3 bolts off there, and this hose off, and the water pump should come right off. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those are out. Should just come right off. It's on there. So you can see gaskets. They clean up that surface and that surface, and then when you're ready to put it back together, All right, so I scraped the gasket material off. This is kind of what you get. It's like a thick paper gasket. So I scraped what was off there, and I used the carbide scraper, and I actually found the carbide scraper gets a little aggressive around areas like this where it's thin. I used a small, like a little 5/8 one to kind of go on there, but I more kind of like dragged it because you don't want to put a nick in there or gouge it, and the carbide, it's definitely tougher than like a razor. So I did actually find that a razor worked a little bit better because you didn't have to worry so much about actually gouging the block there and messing up the sealing surface. So it's actually been a couple of days, and we got some snow over the past day or so. So I took the water pump out, and I went down to get another one, a replacement, because it was warranted. And it was dark when I got back, so I was going to do it the next day. I started doing it. I scraped the gasket material off, and then I'm on call this week, so I got called in a couple of times to go in because of the snow. So, and then it was cold, and I got kind of lazy, and now it's kind of warm out, and I'm back working on it. So we're gonna I blew out these holes, made sure there was nothing in there, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna put the water pump in. Now that that's all cleaned up, and I used some emery cloth to final like sand whatever was on there off, just to make sure it was a nice clean surface. So we're gonna bolt the water pump in using our gaskets between it, and you got to torque it in 2 stages. So you're going to torque all 3 bolts, or all 6 bolts, this one on that side, to 11 foot-pounds. And then we're going to, once we're done with 11, we're going to retorque them to 22 foot-pounds. And I'll probably do another pass at 22 just to make sure nothing kind of loosened up as other ones got tightened down. So we do have the water outlet. I cleaned that up. I got a new thermostat to go with it. There's a thermostat. I guess the earlier trucks had like an integrated all-in-one piece that took an O-ring, and then this one, because they're after 03, I believe, used just a regular replaceable thermostat. It's not part of the water inlet, and that'll go in there like so. And we put it in, and we'll put the gasket that comes with it, another paper gasket, if I don't lose everything. Back up. So we get another paper gasket. They give you both, and I'll use that paper gasket in there. That's what I used last time, and it worked pretty well. I know a lot of times you'll get a thermostat with the rubber ring around it, and it won't require another gasket, but this comes with it. Like I say, last time I used it and I didn't have any leaking issues, so I'm just going to redo the same thing. So the 2 little bolts that go with this get torqued to 11 foot-pounds as well, and then we're going to put our hoses back on, put our belt on, and it should be done. I do have a new alternator belt on there. I did clean all the coolant off of the pulleys. Like I said, I used hot water on them, and then I used the air nozzle and blew that off. So there's that. I will say, if you're going to do that little tensioner down there on the air compressor one is kind of a piece of junk, and I've replaced them before. I think this is probably the 3rd one I didn't replace that one because I've done it recently, but they don't hold up very well for very long. So if you're going to do that, I would check that, because I've had that pulley seize up on, I had it seize up on my Suburban, and it locked up and broke the belt off. I had it, I don't know if it seized up on this, but it actually, initially when I replaced it, it started like kind of wearing into the little arm, because the bearing goes bad when I replaced the belt the first time and I did the alternator the first time. And I believe I had to change it since then, because I think the tensioner itself actually just broke, and it was just kind of like hanging there, and the air conditioner wasn't working because it wasn't making any tension. So like I said, I didn't change it this time because it's pretty relatively new. So, and it seems to be all right for now. I mean, there's no real play in the pulley, and it's not kind of making any weird noise or anything. So I'm gonna go with that for now. So yeah, so put the water pump in and continue on and we'll fill it up. I usually get the 100% coolant, the full strength, and then I'll mix it with distilled water because it's just seems a little bit cheaper to do it that way. I bought 2 gallons of concentrated, which will make 4 gallons of mixed coolant. I think that should be enough. I mean, I don't think I took that much out, but that should be about good, but we'll find out. So let me get the water pump, put it in. So obviously this is what it is. Looks just like it did when it came out, and I'll stick that in there. So I got my gaskets just kind of sitting on there and try to get this in without losing them. So I'm not pushing this all the way on. I'm just kind of holding it close so I can get the bolts started, so I don't kind of lose the gasket off the bolts. We obviously want to get 2 started so it holds the gasket where it belongs, which I did. And there's that. So now they're on there. Let's go ahead and tighten them down and we'll make our first pass at 11 foot-pounds. Try to do it all evenly. You don't want to tighten one up real tight. You want to kind of be even when you do it so you don't warp anything. So we got it at 11, go to 22. All right. So this has got kind of a little notch in the rubber piece there and a little notch there. Don't like to go in there. It's been kind of troublesome. Just rolling the O-ring off. So I'm pushing on the little tabs that stick out of the rubber O-ring there. I'm just pushing on it and kind of wiggling the thermostat kind of like back and forth, and as it pulls it out, it kind of resets and lets you push it in there. So now that's in. Take this, put it on over the top of that, and put it back on the water pump. I say Well, that thing was kind of in the way, wasn't it? Anyway, so generally this style of thermostat doesn't require a gasket, and more than likely it might not require one, but I'm going to put this on anyway, just because, like I say, I did that last time and it worked pretty well. I don't remember if it was overlapping the I don't remember if it was overlapping the thermostat, though. It's the only thing. It's kind of overlapping that piece of rubber there a bit. Yeah, but I'll try it anyway. I think it'll be fine. Oh, I forgot one vital important step that the instructions said. I didn't spin the pump pulley. Yep, that spins good. So, all right, so we pop these hoses back on and put the belt on and tensioner. Yeah, fill it up with coolant, start it up, let it run, kind of purge itself out. I don't really have any problems with this engine purging the coolant out. It's usually pretty good about it. And then I'll run it and make sure I don't have any leaks. I don't think we will, but you never know. Tensioner back on. There's that. These belts are deco. I climb up here. So there's your part number. This is the air conditioner compressor belt. This is the serpentine belt that runs all the doodads. And that's a thermostat number I got, 14948. I don't remember the water pump because we warrantied the water pump and the guy kept the box, and that was kind of a fiasco. I took the water pump out so I can bring it down there and just exchange it and not have to return it and pay for it and all that other stuff, because one, I didn't want to pay for it and then have to go back later to exchange it. I'd rather just bring it there and do it all at the same time rather than have to drive there twice. So I took the water pump off and we bring it down there. I walk in, I hand it to the guy behind the counter. First I called and asked if they had a water pump for it. They said, yes, we have one. I said, all right, I'll be down for it. So we get down there. I walk in with the water pump in a box and I hand it to the guy behind the counter. And I say, I want to exchange this because the bushing's bad and it's leaking for the warranty. So he goes, okay. He walks behind the counter. Well, there's more to the story that's specific to the story. So when I handed it to him, he took it, put it on the cart, spun the pulley, stood there for a second, and then he walked behind the counter, walked up to the computer, kind of stood there for a little bit. He goes, are you the ones that called about the water pump? I said, yes. So he's doing whatever he's doing. Hold on. This thing's getting all twisted up. So he goes and gets the manager, I guess, or the manager enough, I'll call it, because that's what he referred to himself as, is manager enough. He said, okay. So he goes and gets him. This has got to go some other way than that. Sorry for the delay, folks. I'd keep telling you the story, but you won't be able to hear me with my head down. I've come to realize my disability. Yeah, I should have waited to tell you the story till I was done. So, anyway, so he goes and gets the other guy. The other guy comes over. He starts doing what he's doing. And after he's done, he looks at us and he says, the money will go back to the car, what you purchased it with. So I looked at him and I said, what did you do? And he said he returned it. So I said, why did you do that? That receipt's 3 years old. It's like, we don't have the same bank account that we had when we bought this. And it's like, we don't even know where that money just went. So they returned it, and it's like, it went back to PayPal, but we went through PayPal, and because I guess it was an online order. So it's like, I don't even know where you just sent that money. So here I am thinking, we're just going to go down there, exchange the thing. And apparently now it's an ordeal. So we buy the water pump and we end up leaving, and a day or so later we get notification it's going back to a bank account we no longer have. So the bank we used to use was in the next town over, and they shut that location down. So the next bank of that same bank it's like 45 minutes away. So obviously I'm not going to drive 45 minutes every time I need to do anything at a bank. So we ended up canceling that account because we had another account at a separate bank that we liked better. I mean, the only reason I still had that bank was it was convenient and easier to just keep them for the little I had to go there and really deal with them. It wasn't that bad, but it was not something I preferred. So they said it's going to go back. They said the PayPal said it was going to go to that bank. We called that bank. They said it's going to be rejected. It's going to go back to PayPal. PayPal says we can't just leave it in your account because it was a return. It's going to go back to Advance. So we called them and we're like, okay, how do we fix this? And the guys kind of hem and haw and go all the way around and back and forth. And basically, ultimately, the end result of what they said was, well, you'll have to figure it out. So that's what Advance told us. We need to figure out how to get our money back from them that is now going back and forth all over the place and is going to wind up back at them. So we're like, well, it turns out they messed up the first time. So we try to get it fixed. Like I say, the end result, that location said, you'll have to figure it out. We don't know. Goodbye. So we try to get the district manager's number to see if they know how to get it back. And they don't want to give it to us. And finally, they ultimately just refunded us for the water pump that they shouldn't have charged us for, and kind of they screwed up. But I mean, they're going to get the money back anyway, but it's like, it's kind of annoying that all these companies are like they're just doing this. Like, they don't want to be bothered to fix their mistakes. And then on top of it, they lied to the manager, the district manager, that they didn't know what we were doing. So it's like, so what you're telling me is you refunded us for a water pump that you didn't know I brought in because I wanted to warranty it. And you did that first. So it didn't even make sense. Their excuse would just imply that they're incompetent, because their excuse implies that they gave us $84 right off the bat, not knowing that I brought a water pump in, and I handed it right to the guy. But anyway, so whatever. So they lied about it, and then they obviously told the district manager a lie, and he's giving us an attitude like we're trying to rip them off. It's getting obnoxious with these places, and this is the first time I bought parts, at least for myself, since the last time I bought parts, which was a battery. So about a month ago, I bought a battery from What did I buy a battery from? I bought a battery from AutoZone. So we get the battery from AutoZone, and while we're paying for it, something was kind of going weird with their system. It was like delayed. So the guy says, oh, just, what did he say? He said something about bringing the core back. He wanted to, he's like, why don't you use like a card or something like that with both your names on it, so I could bring the core back, or my wife could bring the core back. So while it was processing through the credit card machine, he canceled the order, and he reached over and he hit cancel while it was in process, and he hit it at just the right time, so it charged us, but it didn't really show up in their system. So we ended up getting charged $200 for a battery. And then we bought the battery right afterwards, and my wife says, oh, it doesn't matter. So we ended up having to reprocess the order without knowing that they already got the money the first time. So reprocess the order. So we leave, we get home, and we've got two $200 charges. One was pending and one was completed. So we call them and tell them about it, and she's like, well, I'm gonna call your office so I can get it fixed, because they can't fix it because they're not the accounting department or whatever it is. They said they couldn't fix it. So we said, well, give us a number to the place so we can fix it and make a claim or report it. And they said, well, please don't report it. Wait to see what happens and we'll fix it. We'll take care of it. They promised to take care of it. So a couple days later, the money's still gone, and it's still there, it's still pending. So we went to bring the core charge back and talked to the manager, and he told us, well, it's still pending. We can't do anything until it's processed, and I'll write an email to the corporate people or accounting or whatever, whoever he was going to write it to, and they were going to fix it. And so we said, well, what's that going to take, like 2 or 3 weeks to get our money back? And he says, no, last time it happened, it was instant. So we gave him the core. We were there for about half an hour talking to this guy too. So we gave him the core, we left. The next day, the pending was now an official charge, and we got charged $400 for one battery. So he called the guy, and now he doesn't want to talk to us. He refused to get on the phone and wouldn't talk to us. So we called a different AutoZone, because they didn't want to give us their numbers either, or the corporate number. They just wanted to basically shut the door and walk away and pretend like it never happened while we're out $200. So she called another AutoZone to get their manager, or the phone number for the district managers or whoever. And they said, well, let me call over there and see what's going on. So they call over there, and now this guy doesn't remember us. Doesn't remember talking to us, doesn't remember the incident whatsoever. So she said, okay. So she got the name of this guy at this AutoZone and said, I'm going to tell them when I call the district managers that you talked to them and they told you that he didn't remember us and this never happened. So it says, because there were other employees standing there. There were other people standing there. This went on for about half an hour. So he ended up calling back, and now the guy remembers us. Now that we have evidence, which, you know, they have cameras and stuff. It's like, you know, you can look at your camera and see that we only bought one battery and we left with one battery, and then that was it. It's not like I'm scamming you, because you could see on your own cameras that you use in situations where you're getting ripped off. But nobody wants to know anything. So this is the last 2 times I've dealt with auto parts places. I've had a problem with them and just incompetent people doing incompetent things. And I get it. Accidents happen. I make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But I just don't like I'm going to turn my back, and I don't care what happens with you. I just don't want to deal with it. And then you're out money. It's just, it's obnoxious, because, yeah, anyway. So that's kind of a rant. I might remove it from the video. I might leave it. I don't know. I remove a lot of my rants. All right. Hopefully I didn't get just too distracted and forget something. I don't know. I think that's it. So let me mix up some coolant and fill this up, start it up, and check for leaks. All right, so I got that all back in there, all together. Mix me up some coolant. I use the Dexcool. Dexcool for GM vehicles. I don't really have too much of a problem with it. I know everyone says they blow out head gaskets and stuff, but I mean, I think everyone's really kind of using Dexcool. Well, not everyone. I know the auto parts place told me that the stuff Ford uses, the Ford Special Orange or whatever it is, they say that it's actually Dexcool. Whether it is or not, I don't know, but that's what they tell me. So I checked for leaks and stuff. I did have a drip coming off this top hose here. It was just dripping, so I had to remove the little spring clamp. I just kind of pushed it off and left it there and just put a regular worm drive clamp on there, and no more leaking. So that's done. Got it all filled up. I ran it for about half an hour, and seems to be all right. Came with the temperature, and I don't know. I think I'm good. I'll go drive it around, see if I have any cooling issues. I don't think I will, but so that's that. I ended up taking that top cover off just because it was getting annoying fumbling around. I had to keep taking the intake off back and forth so I can see if that thing kept leaking, because I couldn't run it with the intake off because you don't have a mass airflow sensor. And I got tired of kind of getting underneath there. So there's that. So anyway, hope that can help somebody. Thanks for watching.